Test, 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 test. It's not moving towards me. Okay.
Hi, Pat. Can you hear me?
Yes, Matthew, we can.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Camera test, camera test, camera test. Yeah, see, it came right to me. So you got to die.
And my husband's in the first one.
Good morning. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to convene the meeting and welcome members to the August meeting for the joint TMC RMC meeting. Before I get started, I'd like to welcome a few new members to their first inaugural meeting. Scott Butler, to my right, City Manager for City of Mesa.
Thank you, Rosa.
Amber Williamson, Deputy City Manager. Congratulations, Amber, for City of Phoenix. And Andrea Davis, Assistant City Manager for the City of Surprise. Welcome, everyone. So now I'll turn this over to Pat for a roll call.
Good morning. City of Avondale, Harold Zaguina.
Present.
City of Buckeye, Javier Stovich. City of Chandler, Ryan Peters.
Present.
City of El Mirage, Amber Wakeman. Town of Fountain Hills, Dave Trimble.
Here.
Town of Gilbert, Mary Goodman. City of Glendale, Kevin Phelps. City of Goodyear, Keeney Knudsen.
Here.
City of Mesa, Scott Butler.
Present.
City of Peoria, Chris Hallett. City of Phoenix, Amber Williamson. Town of Queen Creek, Shay Yoakum.
Present.
City of Scottsdale, Nathan Dome. City of Surprise, Andrea Davis.
Here, and thanks for that welcome. Appreciate it.
And City of Tempe, Rosa Enchowski.
Present.
Chair, we're ready to proceed.
Thank you, Pat. Before we get started, if a committee member would like to ask a question, we just ask you make a comment during the meeting. Please type your comments in the box and it will be read out loud and answered for the meeting. All meeting attendees, please mute your computer microphone or phones for the meeting to start. Item number 1, public comment. The public will be provided with an opportunity at this time to address the committees on non-agenda items and all action items for the joint RPTA and VMR meeting agendas. You will have up to 3 minutes will be provided per speaker unless the chair allows, unless I allow more on my discretion. A total of 15 minutes for all speakers will be provided. Moving on to item number 2, the Chief Executive Officer's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the TMC and RMC committees. Thank you for being here today and welcome to our new committee members. Welcome to our first meeting of our FY26 fiscal year. This is the first meeting after we had a board recess in the month of July, which we typically do in July and December. So we have a relatively full agenda. As such, I'll keep my comments brief. I want to report positive news on the ridership front. We are working to drive increases in ridership across all modes and in all parts of our service area. In the month of June, ridership grew year over year by about 8.5%. In recent months, we have been trending very strong on bus ridership, but really lagging on light rail ridership, strong growth in streetcar. In June, we were strong across all of our modes. We're seeing an increase in our commuter and rapid ridership across the region. And certainly with the opening of the South Central Extension on June 7th, we look forward to continued growth in that market. Next slide, please. On May 12th, we transition to a new security contract from Allied Universal Security to Intercon. We did this deliberately in advance of the opening of the South Central extension. Our goals in this contract extension were to increase presence and engagement of frontline security personnel with our riders on stations, platforms, and onboard our vehicles. I am pleased to report that while 60 days in, we're still working through challenges like training and engagement. We are filling 98% of our scheduled posts across the system. This is a tremendous improvement relative to where we've been in recent past. This increased presence has resulted in a significant reduction in incidents from FY24 to FY25. I do want to note that our presence prior to the contract transition did increase significantly in that last 6 months of the contract. And I credit Adrienne Reese and her safety and security leadership team for their focus there, and also the action of the board that did increase wage rates for those frontline team members for the last 6 months of the contract. Our streetcar fare, we have been fare free since the opening on May 20th of 2022, but beginning this past Monday, August 4th, we did begin collecting fare aboard streetcar. There's been a great deal of education and awareness to support our customers, and also increase promotion of our mini pass programs to encourage those loyal riders to stay with us on streetcar. Streetcar ridership has far exceeded our initial expectations, and we want to continue to see that market remain strong. Back on South Central with our still very new service, we have a robust marketing campaign intended to make riders, potential riders, and members of the community along the corridor aware of the destinations they can reach, the location of stations. So we have a pretty heavy social campaign featuring video and graphics that are really intended to orient people to this new service and welcome them aboard. On the safety side, we also continue to promote safety for bus and rail on and near the system. We heard in the spring a study session regarding rail collision and running time, and we are focused on driving down rail collisions. And we know that informing and influencing the behavior of motorists, pedestrians, and transit customers is a big part of reducing collisions and creating a safer system. Slide, please. Inside Valley Metro, I want to share with you that our Chief Transportation Officer, Mike Powell, who joined us in 2023 as our Chief Transportation Officer, in which capacity he's responsible for leading the teams who deliver all of our bus, light rail, streetcar, and paratransit service. Mike is leaving us. He is heading back east to his native New York. We have had great success with Mike in the last 2 years, and we thank him for his service. Mike has done a wonderful job leading our team through 2 light rail extensions in just 2 years. He and the team have improved bus on-time performance in a very short time, but over 10%. So our customers now have more predictable, reliable service. Our paratransit productivity has improved significantly in recent months, and you and certainly your city staff are well aware of the increased collaboration and engagement between Valley Metro staff and city staff. Mike, we thank you for your service. Looking ahead, we do have our August 28th board member meeting. We'll be in this room again tomorrow for our audit and finance subcommittee meeting. I do want to mention at the August 28th meeting, we will have a study session focused on community engagement. The disposition of this study session is to share draft information about a planned future engagement approach and solicit board feedback on that content. And we certainly welcome the feedback and engagement of this committee as well as city staff. September, we'll be back here September 4th for TMC, RMC right after the Labor Day holiday, and then September 5th, AFS, and September 18th, Board of Directors meeting, and again, a study session. We have at board request been increasingly seeing study sessions occur at the board meeting. We've got an information item today, not quite a study session focused on crime prevention through environmental design. We welcome your feedback on this content. Is it too much, not enough? And should you have items that you would like staff to delve into to explore, we welcome that feedback and direction. That concludes my report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Jessica. Any questions for Jessica? Clarifications? Thank you, Jessica. Best of luck, Mike. I would like to move back to public comment and ask Pat if there is anyone for public comments.
No, ma'am, not today.
That's what I thought. Thank you, but I wanted to clarify. Thank you. So moving on to item number 3 for consent agenda. This item is presented for action. I will ask committee if there are any questions or if there are any items that need to be pulled for separate consideration or discussion.
Yeah, Madam Chair, just a question on item 3B on the financial modeling software contract, if staff is prepared to answer that, and Smithford Miller. Just wanted to clarify, what did we have in the current fiscal year budget for this software, for this contract?
Oh, I can answer many questions, but the monetary figure I can't. I'll invite Kim Kessler, Chief Financial Officer, to respond to your question, Mr. Butler.
Great.
This on? Oh, there we go. Thank you for the question. So in the current year operating budget, we have about it's $86,000 that was budgeted. As you know, the budget was put together and finalized back earlier in the spring. The procurement just wrapped up in recent weeks, so we didn't have final cost numbers for that. The annual cost is about $89,000 and some change. And then there is, in our capital budget, we're funding $105,000 implementation cost of the new software. So the $89,000 is about $3,000 more than we had in the budget, but that was the $86,000 budget was our best estimate at the time we put the budget together.
Great. Yeah, Madam Chair, and thank you, Ken, for that clarification. I know that, you know, we're all adjusting to this new world of 479 and how things are being done in this new reality. And I think we all kind of looked at things differently as cities under JE, under Prop 400, and we're all just trying to come to terms with these costs that will be spread out throughout the program in 479. And I know we're just going to be very sensitive to some of these off the top costs of just looking at whether they stay in budget and what that is, because that's you know, every dollar that goes to this, which is important. We are very supportive of this, and that's why I wanted to maintain that on the consent agenda. But we know for every dollar that goes off the top, it impacts the service that we're able to put out into service. And so that's what we're going to be sensitive to moving forward, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. So with this item, we're asking the committee to advance this contract to the board. So this is the contract authority. This is up to a 4-year contract with a not to exceed of $319 dollars. But the budgetary authority would be included in the operating budget every year moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. Thank you, Jessica. Any other questions, comments? I see none. So at this point, I'll request a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 3A and 3B.
Make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Butler,
Second.
second by Mr. Peters. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I see none. That motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 4, travel and expenditures. Are there any questions from the committee on this item? No questions, no comments? Okay. This item is presented for information only, so we'll just keep moving along. Item number 5, report or current events and suggested future agenda items. I asked the members of the committee if there are any members who wish to have a recommendation for a future agenda item. I see none. So then we'll move on to item number 6. Next meeting is scheduled for the TMC RMC is scheduled for Wednesday, September 3rd, 2025 at 11 a.m. And then I would motion to adjourn the meeting. Mr. Peters is first and Knudsen second. All in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I see none. Meeting is adjourned at 11:18. Welcome to the Transit Management Committee meeting. I will start and convene the meeting and welcome members to your August meeting. Item number 1 is consent agenda. The consent agenda is presented for action. Any committee members, are there any questions or any items that you need to be pulled for separate consideration? I see none, so I request a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 1A through 1E.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion from Mr. Butler,
Second.
second from Mr. Peters. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any oppositions? Any opposed? None? Okay, that motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to item number 2, demand response scheduling software contract award. And I'll turn this over to Jessica.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll invite Tom Young, our Deputy Chief for Bus and Paratransit Operations, to the podium to provide this presentation. Mr. Young.
Thank you, Jessica. Madam Chair, members of the Transit Management Committee, as Jessica mentioned, this recommendation is for award of new demand response software. Our demand response programs here at Valley Metro include our ADA paratransit program, our ride choice program. We also have route deviated service for our rural 685 and future microtransit services. So the solution is to be able to manage all of those programs under one software program. Let's see if I can get this. So several years ago, just as a background, the Board of Directors approved implementation of a joint administrative contract to manage all demand response programs. The current demand response software the Valley Metro uses was not able to modify to manage anything beyond our ADA paratransit program. So today, we continue, this went forward too far. Okay. We continue to manage the programs completely separate. We have 2 administrative contracts. The new software is going to allow us to consolidate the programs, have one administrative broker that will be taking reservations and trip scheduling, initially for ADA paratransit for our ride choice program and the route deviated service, and prepare for future ride choice or future microtransit services that could be operated in any of the jurisdictional areas. In addition to the management of these programs, the new software that we're going to recommend also has the ability for electronic fare payment. It has the ability for customers to make reservations and check their trip status electronically, either through a computer or their iPhone. So they will not have to make those phone calls. And it also includes automatic notification. So your bus will be there in 20 minutes and stuffs. We did receive 7 different proposals, and after review of all 7, we're making the recommendation for award to Rideco US Incorporated. The contract is a 1-year base with 4 1-year renewals in a dollar amount of $2,143,831. I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Thank you very much. So with that, I request a motion and a second to forward to the Board of Directors authorization for the Chief Executive Officer to enter into a contract with Rideco US Inc. for demand response scheduling software with 1-year initial term and 4 1-year options to extend. The aggregate value will not exceed $2,143,831. May I get a motion?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Get approval from Ms. Williamson, a second from Mr. Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, and that motion passes. Thank you. Item number 3, paratransit vehicle replacement contract award. Jessica, I'll turn this over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will invite Greg Thompson. Greg is our Deputy Chief of Bus and Paratransit Vehicle Maintenance to the podium to present this item, which is part of our overall fleet replacement strategy. We come to the board and committees for paratransit vehicles more often because they have a life cycle of about 5 years, whereas we keep our buses for 10 to 12 years. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Jessica, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Today, I'm asking that the TMC forward to the Board of Directors a request to purchase paratransit vehicles for use in our ADA services as well as our rural Route 685 for an amount of $4,058,150. This project supports a strategic plan by delivering excellent customer experience by replacing vehicles on a routine schedule, which enhances safety and vehicle reliability. This is a one-for-one replacement of like vehicles in the service. As we select vehicles to be purchased, we do an analysis on right fit for the service. We consider seating capacity, ADA stations. We look at drop-off locations and pickup locations to ensure vehicles can fit for those. So we do a lot of analysis. We will be purchasing 20 vehicles for the ADA service, 5 vehicles for the rural Route 685 service, and then there's 1 vehicle to be replaced that was lost due to an accident in prior years. This purchase will come from the Arizona joint office, the Arizona State Procurement Office contract, and it was awarded using a competitive process. And with that, I can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Greg. Any questions for Greg or Jessica? I think we're good, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you. So at this point, I request a motion and a second to move forward to the Board of Directors authorization for the Chief Executive Officer to execute a cooperative contract with Model 1 commercial vehicles to procure replacement vehicles in an amount not exceeding $4,058,150. Thank you.
I'll second.
And thank you. So it was moved by Mr. Knudsen, second by Ms. Williamson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. We're moving on to item number 4, report on current events and suggestions for future agenda items. So I'll open this up to the members of the committee for any suggestions or any current events that may need to be shared. It's a quiet group, so nothing today. So moving on to number 5, the next meeting is Wednesday, September 3rd, 2025 at 11 a.m. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting is adjourned at 11:26. Thank you.
All right, I will begin by convening the Rail Management Committee meeting and welcoming members to our August meeting. As a new member myself and chair, I look forward to working with all of you as well as the Valley Metro team. So we'll start with item 1, consent agenda. Consent agenda is presented for action. Are there any questions from the committee for items 1A or 1B, or any items that need to be pulled for separate discussion?
No.
Hearing none, I'll request a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 1A and 1B. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second, all right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Move on to agenda item number 2, Program Management Construction Management Contract Award, and I'll ask Jessica to introduce the item.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll invite Trevor Cullen, Chief of Capital Development, to provide a brief presentation. The Program Management Construction Management Professional Services contract is due for renewal. The period of this contract would span roughly through our capital extension, light rail expansion project, as well as the Rio East Dobson streetcar extension project. We're asking the committee to consider a contract maximum amount. Of course, the actual expenditure will be driven by the timing and cost of those projects. Mr. Collins, you'll walk us through the details.
Thank you, Jessica. Madam Chair and members of the committee. What do we use this contract for? So program management, construction management provides us these key services and staff during the rollout and construction of these projects. I won't read them all, they're all listed there, but it is a two-way approach. It helps us balance both our internal staff to what we can bring on as consultant to support these projects as they ebb and flow. As you can imagine, they peak and they valley over time. And so that's a big way that we can make sure that the resources that are needed are there in a timely manner. It also brings us specialty expertise when we talk about Buy America requirements, special cost estimating, scheduling, litigation if necessary. So those resources are there as needed, not on a permanent basis. And so this is a very important contract. The contract we currently have ends at the end of this calendar year, and that contract helped us deliver Tempe Streetcar, Northwest Phase 1, light rail expansion, and also South Central in addition to OMC. So these contracts are longer in term. As Jessica mentioned, our vision for this contract is it would support the capital extension in Phoenix and the Rio East stops and extension in Tempe and Mesa. A little bit of information about the solicitation process. It was a competitive solicitation. We released the RFQ in March of this year. We received 3 offers, and the ranking of the firms there is shown. And the recommendation is before you is to award a contract to Infinex with a 5-year base and 3 one-year options. And with that, Madam Chair, I'd be happy to take any questions.
All right, are there any questions from the committee? Then I would request a motion and a second to forward to the Board of Directors authorization for the Chief Executive Officer to enter into a contract with Infinex for program management and construction management services with a 5-year initial term, there being 3 one-year options to extend. Aggregate contract value will be established at $43,400,000 for the base term. Can I ask for a motion for approval?
I motion to approve.
A second?
Second.
All right, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to agenda item number 3, crime prevention through environmental design study. And I'll ask Jessica to introduce the item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an informational item for your information as well as feedback and consideration. Part of Valley Metro Security Program, it's a multi-layered approach. It includes at our foundation, our frontline security team. That's the Intercon team that I spoke about earlier. Adrienne and her team, they are tiny but mighty and incredibly effective at coordinating all of our resources, which include cooperation and partnership from our law enforcement agencies, not just our Valley Metro rail cities, but our bus communities as well. And we've had great success recently with active patrols, with Operation Blue Ride, which involves Valley Metro team and our law enforcement partners riding along together, in some cases, including the city of Tempe, in partnership with social service providers. Our security program also includes technology and design elements like our camera system, which we'll touch on that a little bit, and you'll be hearing more about that in future procurements. But we know that the design of our physical system impacts the way people behave, and it also impacts our ability to surveil and control those spaces. So we proactively chose to conduct a crime prevention through environmental design assessment of our existing system, bearing in mind that our original design, which came from the late 1990s, early 2000s, doesn't always incorporate current CEPTED best practices. So we engaged a firm, STV, to work on our behalf in partnership, not just with Valley Metro, but with city staff to take a look and identify recommendations for creating safer, more secure spaces across the light rail and streetcar system. I'll invite Adrienne Rees, our Chief of Safety and Security, to provide an introduction, and Matthew Dimmick from STV, who managed the project, is also joining us virtually to deliver part of today's presentation. Adrienne.
Great. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. So I'm going to kick off this presentation with Matthew on the line. He'll present virtually with this presentation on our system. This ties directly back. There we go. This ties directly back to our strategic plan of prioritizing security on transit, but that also includes the built environment. We're approaching 17 years of service and are positioned to line up and assess our system under the umbrella of crime prevention through environmental design. And we want to look at areas we can improve and enhance our infrastructure and assets. So convenient, clean, safe, and secure from hazards and threats. This is what our riders look for on our system, and that includes obviously the perception of safety and security. So we want to know what is working. We want to modernize and need to modernize and bring in those best practices, as Jessica discussed, as we age and respond to those concerns and perceptions from the ridership. Next, Matthew will be presenting a few slides regarding our system and some of the key takeaways. We will then discuss next steps. Matthew?
Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, everybody, for having me here today. We can just move to the next slide if that's okay, and we'll get right into this. There's a lot of information to go through. So if I speak quickly, just please put questions in chat and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. The things that we're going to talk to today is about security, operations, and SEPTED and how they work together. Our activities for crime prevention through environmental design, primarily focused in the deterrence, detection, and delay aspects of security, because those are the things that we can have the greatest impact on from the built environment. Next slide, please. As part of our overall engagement, we wanted to make sure that we considered culture, community, and Valley Metro's vision in everything that we did. And so we held multiple workshops, including our first one, which was about level setting and providing definitions for crime prevention through environmental design, and that first engagement with our community partners. In addition to these workshops, we also conducted quite a few interviews with all of the folks that you see listed here, from city representatives to the security staff who are on the front lines. Next slide, please. To continue with the assessment, we dispatched a team to the Valley Metro system, both at daytime and nighttime, and we assessed a total of 128 facilities, basically trying to determine the differences between operations after hours as well as operations during your normal daytime operation periods. A sampling of the systems that were actually assessed is listed here on this slide. And then to go to the next slide, please. The items that we were looking for were primarily the first 4 items that you see here. And I'm going to get into these a little bit more as we go through the slideshow. But primarily we were looking at natural surveillance, natural access control, territorial reinforcement, which works together with natural access control, as well as maintenance, and then a little bit of target hardening and some public art. Next slide, please. And the next slide. So we're going to get right into some of the observations and some of the considerations for improvement that we provided to Valley Metro as part of this project. First off, to level set on what natural surveillance is. Essentially, natural surveillance is getting eyes on the street, if I use the term from Jane Jacobs from the 60s, where we want the community to be able to see activities that are occurring in the space that we're actually protecting. So that may be a station or a park and ride. Once we've done that, we also want to make the area comfortable for the users. And a lot of that comes down to providing a very defined line of sight. And so since most people fall between 2 feet tall and 7 feet tall, we try to keep that line of sight or that visibility open. That includes any barriers that we might put in place to that. So as an example, SEPTED fencing or SEPTED railings, which you'll hear about later, will typically be see-through so that people can have that situational awareness. Next slide, please. So during our assessments, we saw a lot of positive elements, a lot of great things that Valley Metro is doing overall for a crime prevention through environmental design standpoint. Some of those relating to natural surveillance are listed here. My favorite of these particular bullets is the improvement that we were able to actually witness while we were looking at each of the extensions. So starting with the very first line that was actually run all the way through, we assessed up to Northwest Extension 2. Every time we got to a new extension, there were improvements from a crime prevention through environmental design standpoint. So that was excellent to see. A lot of other great items, vegetation management, clear lines of sight, and then open stations and stops were also witnessed during our assessments. Next slide, please. So natural surveillance in general, obviously, those were a lot of the positives that you saw. There's going to be stuff to improve. Some of this may be incorporated into later designs, and some of this may be incorporated into projects as you're doing some retrofits or changes to the system. A few things that you'll see here are the walls and concrete barriers or concrete planters. We like those to be more open railings, if you will, down the pathway so that it's easier to see where you're walking. Vines were used throughout the system in different applications, trying to bring some natural elements into the system and some system beautification. But what we saw was that those are sometimes hard to maintain, and they also block lines of sight in a lot of different areas. Whereas if you look at Northwest Extension 2, for an example, still a nice beautification, some public art in there, but I can see through the shade. Or through the shade screens to the other side of the platform, which is ideal from a crime prevention through environmental design standpoint. Last element that I want to point out on this slide is on your bottom left. You can see the difference between walking down a pathway where the TVM is canted into the path. Some of the shrubs and bushes are not very well trimmed compared to one where the TVM is perpendicular to the path and there are no shrubs in the way. On the one, you can't really see a whole side of the station, where on the other, you can see straight down both sides. Next slide, please. Natural access control and territorial reinforcement. As I mentioned, these two elements work together, particularly in a street running system like Valley Metro. Primarily what we're trying to do with these elements is designate some form of ownership, provide clear entrances, and then they'll also, in places like, say, park and rides, help guide people through the location or guide people through the site with wayfinding. Next slide, please. So some of the positive elements that we saw in the Valley Metro system, one of the first things that I want to just explain is my last bullet here, actually, the controlled space element of this. So Valley Metro is a street running system, which means that it's basically open public access. There's no difference between public space and walking onto the Valley Metro platform. I say that because if you go to some other cities where they have subways or subterranean transit, there's foyers, there's potentially turnstiles, there's other physical barriers that would separate you from the public. Valley Metro doesn't have that benefit because of the way the system actually works. But with that in mind, you've actually done a really good job of designating your space through things like paid fare zone markings. You can see that orange line across the pavement here. Those were actually extremely well defined in your system compared to some of the other systems that we've seen with similar markings. Your signage is very clear. When you walk onto a Valley Metro platform or a stop, you get your code of conduct, what your expectations are for ridership and everything else. So those things were really, really well done from a natural access and territorial reinforcement standpoint. Next slide, please. One last point on natural access control, and this only occurs on single entry platforms. So there's a few of these throughout the system. Are these points of egress or the basically it's an emergency area of refuge. Having this extra ramp there, but not a formal entrance to the station, results in some potential hazards of crossing the right-of-way to get to this area without an actual crossing, as well as people loitering in the refuge area. And so our recommendation here would be to take the gates, which we know are frequently damaged, they don't close on their own, etc., and replace them with something that's a little bit more robust, might withstand damage, and is also very clearly marked that that's for emergency egress or emergency exit only. Next slide, please. Last point on natural access control and territorial reinforcement is wayfinding signage. And so I use the McClintock Park and Ride, Apache Boulevard and McClintock Park and Ride as an example here, primarily because that one is actually currently being redeveloped or they're doing work to improve the wayfinding there as it is. So it was an easy example. Versus the Metro Parkway Park and Ride, you can see a very clear definition of this is a park and ride, this is Valley Metro property as you're actually going to enter. Whereas the Apache Boulevard one, it's very difficult to determine where the actual park and ride begins. Last point on wayfinding for park and rides, you may go to an airport, you may go to a mall, and you'll have site identifiers, whether it's level or whether it's the parking area by color. Those signs are there to help people very quickly make it from something like a station or stop to their vehicle so that you reduce the amount of time that they're exposed to potential hazards during that transit period. Next slide, please. Maintenance and maintenance throughout the system was actually really great. Most of the overall cleanliness of the system compared to other systems that we've been to, a lot of legacy systems, for example, was very well done. There were some areas for improvement, particularly in some of the older areas of the system where the smaller pavers were used. We found that these stain, they retain odor, but they're also, anecdotally from the maintenance department, much more difficult to clean with the pressure washers that were purchased because they're worried about disrupting the substrate and causing tripping hazards. And so looking at how we can improve that situation would be something that we would recommend. Another thing that we would look at is visibility of cleaning staff. So as we were doing our assessments, we did see cleaning staff throughout the process. By having that staff ready to get onto the train, maybe deodorize the train or the passenger areas when they pull into the stop, or have them visible on the platforms as people are using the stations, may provide some additional benefit to the user experience, as well as providing some presence for people to support natural surveillance. Next slide, please. Station advertising is a challenge in some areas. If you look to the picture on the left of your screen, you'll see that the artwork still affords somebody the ability to see through the backstop or the shade structure there. So if somebody was walking by, laying down, or hiding behind that particular structure, you can see it with the design on the left. If you look to the area of the right where the additional advertisement banners were added to this particular stop, you could see that now is no longer viable. You can't actually see through it. What we would encourage is that if you're going to be doing station advertising, you try to use places that are already blocked in terms of line of sight so that you're not reducing the overall visibility through either the station infrastructure or down the station pathway. Next slide, please. Lighting is critically important to crime prevention through environmental design. It's also going to be really important as you move forward into other security measures. We looked for primarily the uniformity of the lighting, that is in color, its application across the site, and whether there were any dark and light transition areas, which are very hard for people to actually manage. The other thing that we were actually impressed to see is that there's this conversion to LED lighting occurring. LED lighting is a preferred security lighting because it provides a very clear white light with a high color rendition index. And so it works really well with cameras as well as with natural surveillance. People can see what somebody's actually looking at. In other words, a white shirt won't show up as a blue shirt or as an orange shirt based on the color of light that's actually present. Next slide, please. Vehicle wraps and onboard advertising is something to discuss going forward. There are obviously some challenges with visibility if you're on the platform or if you're in the vehicle and the vehicle that pulls up is wrapped. So our considerations for improvement here would be to ensure maximum visibility. We want to limit blind spots wherever possible. The other thing that we thought was really great with the system is that there was safety and security advertising, if you will, of the new application. Some of the programs and stuff was present on the vehicles. We'd like to see that, and we would like to see that actually increase just a little bit so that you can get some of the benefits from the security investments that you're already making. Next slide, please. So this will be our last slide, and then I'll pass it back to Adrian to close out with next steps. The emergency call boxes, this is a great practice that Valley Metro has implemented. These are present on your light rail stations, and the only thing that we would like to see is to have a few more present within the system. We try to keep them within about 200 feet of people, but really the key item is you don't want somebody to have to cross the row or a hazard or go around somebody who's potentially aggressive to try to get to one of these boxes. So consider that in design going forward. Strobe or lamp functions on these boxes will actually contribute to natural surveillance because when they're going off, the community will be looking at those items. And then the other item to consider here, in addition to high visibility colors, is integrated video cameras. And so if you remember in my first slide where I talked about deter, detect, delay, assess, communicate, and respond, without those video cameras, it's very difficult to assess what's going on in a particular emergency call box. And if we can't assess what's going on there, then it's difficult to send the appropriate response to whatever that alarm is. That's all that I have for now. Adrian, back to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Matt. So we've been listening to our riders and we've seen the impact CPTED principles and foundations have on our system. So we're working now to modernize our CCTV systems, including higher quality software and hardware. We brought the Plaza 19 into the front and head of the system. And actually, this is the slide that goes after this. So I'm going to go to this slide first because this is what I'm speaking to. We brought the Plaza 19 in the improved condition is today from where it was by implementing more robust CPTED principles, including target hardening with see-through fencing, as Matthew mentioned, around the retention basin. And more importantly is showing ownership by community engagement in this area, showing that someone owns the place and is actively engaging in it. We know the original paver design for the first 20 miles, as Matthew mentioned, needs attention and redesign, as well as thoughtful consideration of plant choice and really upkeeping our maintenance of our landscaping, which we do an excellent job and is mentioned by Matt. Going to the slide previous to this is my final slide, on FY26 tasks include, next steps, taking these best practices with each new extension and lessons learned to the revision of our design criteria manual as kind of our 30,000 foot view we use when we would design and build our projects. That's an exercise that ensures we evolve new concepts such as these and ones previous into extension improvements. And for the last 10 years, with every new extension and project, we've utilized a robust certification process, hazard analysis, threat vulnerability assessments, and CPTED foundations to design and construct our projects, as Matthew mentioned. We prioritize those findings and recommendations into thoughtful discussion. Video surveillance system improvements are moving ahead with a task order to look at our current CCTV capabilities and enhance and pull from the advancements in technology that we have today. And finally, with all the information provided here today, which I know is a lot, we want to prioritize those improvements, come back to you for input for a 1 to 3 to 5 year plan to implement those changes. And with that, we thank you for your time. If you have any questions for Matt and I, we'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee?
Madam Chair, not really a question, just a comment. Just wanted to thank Valley Metro's focus on this. We know the efforts you're going to on safety and security for the system, and it's noted by, I think, all of our communities, the importance being placed on that, and areas like cleanliness and station design and things that all go into the public perception of riding on light rail and being part of it. So thank you for the focus on this.
I just wanted to say thank you, Adrian, Matt, and Jessica. Our team said that the inclusion of the staff and just the brainstorming and the thought partners with CPTED, we are very committed to CPTED. We created a position dedicated to this in community development. So we know the impact it has on safety and overall feeling of safety in communities. So thank you for this. And I look forward to the 1, 3, and 5 year plan.
Thank you.
All right, I would just. Brought back.
So once we develop plans and their associated execution strategies, we do like to go back and measure. And one of the ways we'll do that for this particular project is through customer research, so market research. I don't anticipate in the near future we would conduct a CPTED reassessment. I don't think that's due as long as we're following the recommendations here out. So it would be reporting back to this body and to the board, to our member city staff, but then reporting out on ridership. The implementation of this will take many different forms over many different years. It will show up in contracts and programs focused on cleanliness and station maintenance, station repainting, camera systems, as well as our future work on our design criteria manual. So many different places we will work to call that out where there's a SEPTED tie-in. And then again, it's customer surveys when we're talking about the security experience. It is. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's actually for the committee members to report out on current events.